tourist. They usually travelled in pairs, and her clothes were a little bit too smart for that. But she was new in town. He could tell by the way her eyes earnestly followed the progress of the tube stations, and then compared them with the map on the carriage wall, silently counting off the stops. At Victoria she got off and bought coffee, and he stayed close enough to her to hear her first ask for it in her own language, and then she remembered where she was and asked for it in English. Her voice was soft, quite high, and she smiled when she spoke. He liked that. But then she bought tickets for the Gatwick Express, and he cursed because he thought for a moment that she was a tourist who was going to the airport to catch a flight home. But she definitely bought 2 tickets, so she was coming back. And she had no luggage. She could have sent it on ahead, of course, but if she was going to China or Japan or wherever, she would have had more hand luggage than the little leather bag that swung from her left shoulder. She'd have books and sweets, and an inflatable pillow and moisturiser and... Perhaps she worked there, at the perfume counter in duty-free, or at the check-in desk for China Air or Fly Thai or whatever the hell they were called. Alistair followed her as far as the train, but then stopped. He didn't want to go all the way out to Gatwick, and besides, he could hardly justify the expense. He had only been in his new job for 2 weeks, and his first paycheck wasn't due for another fortnight. He stood on the platform, nevertheless, and watched her take her seat. She was beautiful. Now she was reading a newspaper, an Evening Standard someone had left behind, and as she read she formed the words with her tiny red mouth, and he thought there was a hint of a smile on her face, as if she found this strange language so funny. An attendant in a purple blazer asked Alistair if he was getting on the train, but he shook his head. "Just seeing someone off," he said. But the man had already walked on, ushering the last stragglers on board. When the train began to move, she finally looked up. She met his eyes. He smiled. She smiled. A pity. Because that was the end of it. She would be here tomorrow night, at the same time, going in the same direction, but she would be alone. She had noticed him, and in noticing him, without knowing it, she had chosen life over death. Alistair rented a room at the top of a large terraced house off the Fulham Palace Road. He'd been there for 2 months. He always took a room as opposed to an apartment, because with an apartment you lived in your own little world, which wasn't healthy, but with a room there was a better chance to interact with other people. There was a communal kitchen at the very least, and sometimes a communal bathroom. This time was a bit different, though. He'd made a conscious effort to keep temptation at arm's length. And what was that expression about shitting in your own nest? By renting off an elderly, retired couple. He made them cups of tea in the mornings and sometimes toast at night, and once or twice they'd invited him down to watch a movie with them, because they knew he only had a small portable. And what way was that to watch The Searchers or She Wore a Yellow Ribbon? Movies were like music, Alistair thought. You stuck to your era, and anything else was rubbish. In his last house there'd been 2 guys and 2 girls, each with their own room, and 2 bathrooms, so there was always a fair chance that you'd bump into one or other of the girls in their bathrobes first thing in the morning, or better, last thing at night, when they were coming home drunk and forgot to lock the door, and you timed it just right so you could walk in on them having a pee. Once or twice he'd caught himself preparing to pounce on them sitting there, oblivious to the fact that they were half naked before him. But no. No. Slow down, take your time. So he moved out and found the Blairs, and they were nice and friendly, treated him, well, not like their son, but like their son's best friend. He enjoyed it. He could relax. He let himself in the front door, carrying a Chinese takeaway he'd bought on the corner. His stomach was rumbling,